Most people have probably heard of aquaculture, or fish farming, and some people might be familiar with hydroponics, or growing plants without soil. But something that many people might never have heard of before is aquaponics, a combination of fish farming and soil-less agriculture. Stephen Mushin from Series Aquaponics in Melbourne, Australia explains how aquaponics works.
Aquaponics works by combining three separate elements. You've got fish, you've got microbacteria, and you've got plants. The system works by cycling fish waste from fish you have in a tank through a biological filter. And from that biological filter, you're growing plants. So inside the filter, you've got microbacteria, which are converting the fish waste into a soluble nutrient form, which is suitable for the plants.
Here's a video of J.D. Sawyer explaining two of the most widely used aquaponics systems at his workshop in Colorado.
Alright, so this is an example of a raft bed here. We're bringing water directly into the bed, and the plants are actually floating on styrofoam sheets here directly in the water. As long as we provide enough oxygen in the water up here, they do very well in this environment. Alright, so welcome to the top of the grow bed. We have a couple different tiers of growing beds on top of the fish tank. Alright, so this is the bottom level of the vertical aquaponics system. And all that water that's flowing from those top grow beds is coming down this pipe. And we actually just cut some slots in the top of this pipe here. So that water is providing natural aeration across the entire surface area. Okay. So this is going to help the trout quite a bit.
Just like urban gardens have become commonplace in cities all over the world, these days many people are implementing aquaponics systems in cities too, and urban aquaponics has been gaining a lot of attention in the media.
We're back as promised to begin a new series this week taking a look at our planet. It's all part of Green Week on the networks of NBC Universal. Specifically tonight, the twin problems of needing to feed a growing population while treading lightly on the environment at the same time. There is one way now being promoted to do both. We get our report tonight from Milwaukee. Here's our Chief Environmental Affairs correspondent, Ann Thompson.
The people here at Sweetwater have figured out how to grow a lot of food with little cost to the environment. And that's an idea that could have a big impact on another problem: how to get fresh, affordable food to places that don't have it.
So aquaponics seems like an interesting, and maybe peculiar, way of growing food, but how beneficial is it for us and for the environment? To find out, I talked to this guy, David Rosenstein, founder of Evo Farm Aquaponics in downtown Los Angeles. David, what are some benefits of an urban aquaponics system?
It's one thing to have fresh food. We can bring food to the market that is fresher than any of the other local farmers because we can bring it live if we want to, or we can harvest it that morning and an hour or two later it's at the market. We're just 5 blocks from our local farmers market, so it's truly the most local source of farmers market. It's the freshest source, and because it's the freshest and often live, it's also the most nutritional too. So, like, the layers of benefits to urban aquaponics is unparalleled.
What kinds of things do you grow at Evo Farm?
Right now I'm growing collards, kales, red Russian kales, leeks, bok choy, a variety of sort of ethnic varieties like from Korea, these that are related to it, like mustard greens, varieties of basil, there's opal basil, and Thai basil, lemon basil, cinnamon basil. It's probably about 80 varieties that are grown. I know there's about 300 varieties that are known to have grown in aquaponics, but I haven't gotten that far yet. Basically, anything with a leaf on it, you can grow.
I also asked David about what sets aquaponics apart from conventional methods of growing food, and whether aquaponics involves organic practices. He believes that aquaponics exceeds organic standards.
If you go to get certified organic, you have to find a company that certifies you. It's a third-party company, and they follow a set of criteria that's established. There's an organization called OMRI, O-M-R-I, and they determine what elements are permissible in a certifiable organic farm. Basically, it tells you what types of elements you can have or not have in your farm. And that lists chemicals too. It turns out even a certified organic farm can use a number of chemicals. They may not be petroleum-based chemicals, but they're still chemicals. A lot of those things, if you put those in an aquaponics system, it would completely destroy the ecosystem.
Stephen from Seaweed's Aquaponics agrees with David.
It's inherently organic, actually, in that if you were to put any pesticides or herbicides into the system, you'd kill your fish.
Apparently, even without the use of fertilizers, aquaponics is even more efficient than conventional and organic agriculture.
It's a closed-loop system that shortens growing time for fish and vegetables like lettuce.
You grow crops incredibly quickly because the plants have a greater access to nutrients in the water than they would do in the soil, and vegetables tend to grow at around about 4 times the rate that they would in soil.
Not only does aquaponics shorten the growing time for both fish and plants, it also requires much less water than gardening and farming. In fact, aquaponics uses about 98% less water than traditional farming systems due to the cyclical nature of the system. With water becoming a scarce resource in many parts of the world, aquaponics could be an economical and environmentally sound method of growing food for city dwellers everywhere, especially in developing countries. The beauty of aquaponics is that it can easily be scaled up or down, making it easy to fit a system into an urban setting. The folks at Sweetwater Organics in Milwaukee, Wisconsin are a perfect example of how aquaponics can work in the middle of a city. Here's a video from Sweetwater Organics explaining their system and how much sense urban aquaponics makes.
For people to be able to grow their own food is huge, especially in the city. I think 1% of everything we get in Wisconsin is from homegrown. Everything else is imported. So I think there's a lot of potential there for huge growth. Really, if you look at Detroit and Chicago and Ohio, we've been connecting with New Orleans. There's tons of these buildings that the city doesn't know what to do with. I think the potential for duplicating this in blighted areas where the neighborhoods and whatnot, it could be a huge movement.
Urban aquaponics seems like a fantastic solution to solving many of the social and environmental problems we face today. So how come we aren't hearing more about it? Are there drawbacks to aquaponics? David Rosenstein has the answer.
It's not for everyone. You certainly can't get things run overnight unless you have a basic or a pretty strong understanding of how the system works. So it requires training. The drawback is you have to go back to school. You have to learn something new. It's a lot more work up front. It takes more work to build something, to construct something on a raised bed. It's technically more complicated, but it's slower to produce the yields that you want. But once you get over all those milestones that can have basically any type of growing season you want. You can grow winter crops in the summer.
So although it may be hard to get started, it sounds like urban aquaponics pays off. And people from all over are starting to realize that, including Christopher Toole, a normal guy from New York City who decided to make some changes in his life, starting with aquaponics.
So my whole life I've been involved in industries that are somewhat parasitic. So I kind of got fed up with that, fed up of being part of a society that's taking, and I wanted to be part of a society that's growing. My primary motive is simply food for myself, food for my kids, and being able to survive. I mean, it's very simple. Not only is it integrated, but you're using the space efficiently, you're using your resources efficiently, and all your inputs and your outputs are as balanced as they can be.
With the combined benefits of providing fresh and healthy food locally, conserving water, and using completely natural growing practices, perhaps aquaponics really is a sustainable solution for people all over the world. It satisfies many of the requirements for what a sustainable system should be, according to Jane Jacobs, author of The Nature of Economies. Aquaponics is a self-refueling system. The fish, plants, and bacteria in the system rely on one another for their health, with minimal inputs from outside. The only inputs are fish food, light, energy, and relatively small amounts of water. These inputs are maximized or stretched in order to get the most possible benefits out of them while minimizing the waste stream and providing valuable end products. Another way in which aquaponics has a smaller environmental footprint is in its use of space. An aquaponics system, especially an urban one, requires much less land than a garden or a farm. The entire system also mimics nature, using natural and ecological processes to grow food in order to help meet the needs of a growing human population, giving city dwellers easy access to nutritious vegetables and fish, which are high in protein. David is a firm believer in the importance and the necessity of urban aquaponics.
I believe aquaponics has a very solid future in the agricultural landscape on planet Earth because of the innate natural qualities that it has to produce a lot of food in a small amount of space with the least amount of water very close to home.
Interested in getting involved in aquaponics? David suggests taking a class, learning the basics, and then jumping in. And don't be afraid to make a splash. Jesse Berkowitz, The College of Worcester.